Meredith Scardino created the Peacock comedy series Girls5eva. I'm Matt Noble from Gold Derby, here to ask you, Meredith, what's been the biggest challenge with creating this show?
Well, I mean, I will say, I think anyone who's a writer that goes from the kind of, being in a room where it's someone else's show, but you're like, you feel very invested in and all that, but jumping from that to it being your show is a difference. And especially doing it, I was so excited to hopefully rise to the challenge, but it was also during the pandemic. We sort of did the whole thing. So that was an added challenge, a day-to-day challenge. Like we did the whole thing. I had written the pilot and, before it was sold and everything, and left it behind during the pitch meetings. And then when it came time to get the room going, it was a fully Zoom room. So I worked with writers that were on the West Coast, East Coast, and some of which I've never even met. Like I've never met them in person. I've never even seen their lower bodies. So we wrote it on Zoom, and then we were shooting, during the pandemic, and that was its own set of like just day to day. There was just like so many crazy things that would happen that we would just constantly be pivoting. Like we would lose a location because the numbers weren't good in a certain zip code, and we had a permit there, and then so we pivot and scramble to find another location, or we change scripts to accommodate like ways to shoot with fewer extras. Like we had, I think, in episode 4 initially that storyline with Kev and Summer doing the Bible study, and originally we scripted that as being at a mega church, and then we were like, there's no way we can shoot at a mega church. So it became a Bible study, but it worked. So that was challenging. And also kind of getting to know a new cast and crew. And a lot of the crew I had worked with already on Kimmy Schmidt, so I knew them very well, but getting to know all the new people from, behind a shield and a mask and being like, I'm Meredith, but like the actors still kind of only ever knowing this part of my face was just like an added challenge. But I felt so lucky to be able to go to work and make the show.
Yeah. This show sort of brings together like a whole bunch of different performers from different walks of life, from Grammy winners to Tony winners to Emmy winning writers.
All winners.
Yeah, all winners. Yeah, all winners. How did you go? Like, were you nervous at all? Because a lot of them hadn't worked together before, like how they'd gel and the sort of chemistry between the...
We always hope there's chemistry, but you don't really, that's the thing about chemistry. You don't know until you get there. But and also I thought, they're essentially, they were a group of people that were thrown together in the past. And so it does have a little bit of this like workplace sitcom kind of thing going on, where you feel like, oh, they don't have to feel like best friends, because they weren't necessarily, they were thrown together. But these 4 and also Erica and Ashley that round out the rest of the group in the past, they all had just like amazing chemistry, just explosive, and they all love each other. And it was a joy to see these 4 kind of, and 6 ultimately, just kind of come alive, and it was awesome. So we got lucky.
Yeah. It's like a show that is sort of about people sort of fighting for the spotlight a bit, or different people on different pages. But I guess it's so important that the cast is actually on the same page putting together the show. Can you think of a moment when you just saw all 4 of them just click really well together?
I think in the pilot, I remember seeing just that scene. It was the very end of the pilot. The whole pilot, they were amazing together, but it was one of the scenes where they were all together in one scene. And it was at the very end of the pilot when they take Ashley's bench out of the Cafe Restaurante truck van and put it on the sidewalk, and they all sit there and they're like, this is going to be crazy. What are we doing? This is nuts. And it's like, no, we got this. And they sing together and they harmonize. And you're just like, wow, like I want to watch these people. That moment really sticks out to me as one of the ones where, yeah, that felt very present. I was like, oh, I can't believe this chemistry. It's great.
There is like a cracking pace of jokes in this show, like the jokes per minute, like it's absurd.
JPMs, I call them JPMs.
Yeah. JPMs.
Keep them high. I try to keep them high.
Yeah, jokes per minute, which is great. The show's also got like a very sort of endearing, uplifting, sort of heartfelt people coming together, overcoming obstacles. How do you, as a writer, balance those two elements of the show?
That's a great question, because I love jokes. Like I just cram like whatever I can cram into, like when you try to re-stuff a sleeping bag back into its little tube. I feel like that's how I am with scripts and the way I think about jokes. I just want to like put as many, if there's, if they're in a scene and there's a moving company that needs a name, we'll give it a joke name, like Deliverance, not movie. Yeah. But so I do like to cram stuff. I think that it was important to us, and Tina in particular is very good at kind of keeping her eye on like making sure you care about these people. It's just making sure that it just doesn't feel like a joke factory, it's all kind of rooted in character and story. And so that you hopefully see these people, despite the fact that they're rattling off a million jokes a second, you are on board with their journey and want to see them want to root for them and feel their pain when they feel pain. And all of these actors are so good at cornering those turns, and making these people empathetic and feel like 3D characters. So it is a hard balance though. I find so the fact that, but we set out thinking we want to give it moments of some heart and some emotion despite the joke-splosion. And I think, in editing it and working with the editors, there are a few moments where they make me kind of cry and feel things like every time, especially in episode 8 when they sing 4 stars on stage. It's just seeing them grapple with that decision and then deciding to go for it. It's like it hits me every time.
We've seen a lot of, I've seen quite a few shows that have like gone into the sort of musical world and have a big musical element. I think particularly a couple of years ago, there were a lot of singing sort of shows. This one really uses music largely to hit comedic beats and to sort of like, maybe 4 stars a little less because you have that sort of like climax of the scene. But what's it like using music for comedy?
Well, it's fun, first of all. Working with Jeff Richman, our composer, he has such a rich background of, theater and he was putting on shows at Second City and playing the music in an SNL. And so I think there's a long history of him doing joke songs. And so I felt very much like we were in good hands in that department. And also just, working on Kimmy Schmidt, we had Titus Andromedon who would sing everything. So we were always writing absurd songs for him. Like, when he's in a fevered state and sings that crazy song about Trident gum. Those kind of things were always so fun to me. Daddy's Boy is another one from Kimmy Schmidt that I loved being a part of. And so it always felt kind of like one of the tools that maybe wasn't a tool that I had flexed or a muscle I had flexed a ton in my career as a writer. But I do love, writing joke songs. And so it was really fun to start the show. And, and just as far as like making it seem doable, I always thought to myself, okay, well, we'll think about it the way that you see music or the way that you see sketch comedy on 30 Rock. It's like kind of in the background. So you might catch a part here, catch a part there, but you don't have to necessarily live in it. But once we got going and we got this cast they're all so incredible, it was like, no, I want to live in the music a little bit more. And so one of the things that was so fun after the season completed was that we ended up doing an album.
Yeah, wow.
So we took like a song from each episode that was sort of featured in each episode and blew it out into a full-size track. And that was like very exciting, because then you're saying, oh, well, okay, maybe I don't have to think about these things as these tiny little joke snippets. You can expand them into songs that you want to listen to for 2.5 whole minutes.
Yeah. You get to see, like, as sort of like from the writing process all the way through, you get to see the evolution of the jokes and the and you probably get to hear them a lot as well. What was a joke that made you laugh the most from, like, since you get to live in them so much?
Well, okay. One of the things that there's a lot of them, because I was so in on the joke writing. A lot of the things that stick out to me are the performer moments that, like, for example, when we scripted Paula pulling her breast out in episode 3 to prove that she's positively sex positive. And, you know, one of the great things about having Paula Pell on as one of the performers, she's one of the greatest comedy writers in the world. And so she would, every time I wish we had a clip reel of this, but every time she would pull it out, she would say something else. Like I forget what we had scripted. We didn't end up using that line because what she did was so funny. But she would, I think what we used was her going, you know, she whips it out and she goes, you know, let it bake like a hard-boiled egg. And then another time she goes, you know, let the sun hit it in the town square. Like she just kept killing me with every time that she would do another line. And then one of the other moments that pops out at me as something that made me laugh every single time I saw it. And granted, I watch these things, I feel like 1,000 times between shooting it, you know, like table read, edit, is when Andrew Rannells does the swoop in slow motion, and you see that his eye is turned inward because it's atrophied from the boy band hairstyle for 15 years. That kills me every time.
What did you have a favorite song from the girls?
I have a few that are just on repeat in here. The most kind of, obviously 4 Stars was just amazing. And the fact that Sarah Bareilles was, you know, willing to write that song for us was just incredible. The songs that I love, like very personal to me, would be New York Lonely Boy. If you heard that, that song's I wrote that about my son. So I have a 3.5-year-old son, and I've called him since he was born. I've been calling him a New York Lonely Boy because people would always ask me, like, oh, you're gonna have another one? And I go, no, I'll just be a New York Lonely Boy, like those single boys in the city born to older parents that loved going to a bistro and talking about like adult chatter and small talk. So to be able to write that song was just incredible. And the fact that Jeff made this gorgeous composition for it, and then arrangement for it, and then we got the Milk Carton Kids to cover it. That was I love it. It's like I love it. And then the other songs that I just tickle me a lot are the Splingy was really fun to write, because it's just the idea of writing this dance craze that is nearly impossible to actually do. Was super fun to work on. And I also loved writing Dream Girlfriends, like being part of that was, I mean, I also got Jokes from the Room, not just me, but those songs are some of my favorites.
we're an awards website at Gold Derby, and as I've alluded to before, like your cast, like to reference something that Tina Fey coined in 30 Rock, the Girls5eva band are an Oscar away from an EGOT amongst them.
Yeah, can you claim it as a team?
I don't know.
I mean, that would be pretty cool.
I think like
all we got to do is get that Oscar. Should we do like an animated short just to try to
I don't know,
one of the easier categories?
You really, it really would be great if Busy won the Oscar, because the other, like, Renee's won the Tony, Sarah's won the Grammy, Paula's won the Emmy. So, like, it'd really be great if Busy could win an Oscar. I know
Busy's a New York Times best-selling author, but that's not part of the EGOT.
Oh well, does she?
But yeah,
can she adapt that book into a screenplay or something? Like,
we'll work on it. We'll work on it.
But you yourself, Meredith, are also an Emmy winner. You've won 4 Emmys for your writing on what I believe is maybe the greatest sort of parody of the modern era, the Colbert Report.
Yes.
What is your what did you take from the Colbert Report, your Emmy-winning work that you've brought into Girls5eva?
What did I take? Well, first of all, I did get to take Stephen into Girls5eva. I was like, my one favor, please, Stephen Colbert, will you be in the show? He's like, sure. He like, yes. I was like, wonderful. Some of the things, well, I feel like I honed my skills as a writer, joke writer, satirical kind of mind stuff at the Colbert Report, working with some of the most talented people around. And and we had, that kind of that rhythm of putting on a show every night. You don't get precious. You just think and you keep doing. So you always have, there's always more in the chamber. I think that's part of the reason why I like this really crammed style of writing. I mean, I've always loved it. I've always loved, sketch comedy and cartoons and The Simpsons and all that stuff. And I think the Colbert Report in a lot of ways was also cartoon pacing. And the other thing that I feel like I took from there is Stephen Colbert, just one of the most wonderful people in the world. And he always called the show a joy machine. And because it's a machine and it needs widgets and coal, I don't know, to go into the machine. I guess that would be jokes and ideas and blah, blah, blah. And so the machine needs to work no matter what, so you might as well make it joyful. So I try my best to bring that forward into, Kimmy Schmidt and this show as well. So
we'll finish, Meredith, with what brings you the most joy in Girls5eva.
I mean, I have to say, the craziest thing to me as a creator, and I'm sure all other creators feel this way, is like, it's the craziest thing to have an idea, right? A dumb idea that I had in this like silent writing space that I go to in an Astor Place where everyone's there. It's all writers. It's called the Writers Room. And you just go and you work there. And I always go there when I need to concentrate hardcore if I'm not in a room. To just go and just, it kind of popped in my head. I started working on it. And then for it to be like real is it's the craziest thing in the entire world. Like, I mean, obviously the fact that Tina and Robert believed in me to be my partners on this and help shape it and Tina making phone calls to all these EGOT minus Oscars winners to help me cast it. And but the whole thing is mind blowing. I can't believe it's real. I'm so excited that it's resonating with people and that people love it, because the writers and I had so much fun making it, even though we were over Zoom. But that's to me been the most joyful thing. It's just the fact that making things. pinch myself that I get to make things like this. So,
yeah. Well, I hope, hopefully, you continue to find joy in that machine, Meredith. And thank you so much for talking to us today. All the best of luck for the upcoming Emmy Awards, maybe the upcoming Grammy Awards with the Girls5eva album.
I don't know the categories, but I will be cramming our album in and hoping that somebody says, "Ooh, I like that."
There's a comedy album category at the Grammys, and I don't think that has to be
stand-up.
I think it could be for any for a comedy musical as well. Like you have to look. What did have a look at what categories. What's that? I forgot his name now. Who's that song parody guy?
Weird Al.
Weird Al. Where does Weird Al win?
All right, I'm gonna try to follow the Weird Al.
Yeah. Anyway, no. So people watching this interview can go to gold5eva.com to make your own awards predictions, join our discussions. Thanks so much, Meredith, for chatting with us.
Thank you so much. It was so nice to talk to you.